It was back in 2020 and I was trapped inside a tiny flat. The UK was stuck in lockdown and there was nowhere to go. You were allowed to go to buy food and 1 hour of exercise per day. Otherwise you could only travel to work, assuming you weren't working from home. On a positive, I had a library full of games on Steam that I always claimed I would play but never got around to. Yes, I could play Victoria 2 for the 200th hour, or I could use the time to actually play a new game, without the excuse that I didn't have time to play it. I definitely had time. Back to my teens, and a friend always raved about this game Okami, a gem of the PS2 era. He would talk about the game's art style, the magic brush, and of course, the art style. He even showed me the game when I was round his, and I always told myself I'd get round to it, like many games. But now I had time, and by luck it was in my Steam library, so no excuse. I loaded it up and... He wasn't wrong about the style. I started the game up and wow! This is a long intro. To sum up, there was a creature, Orochi? Something like that. There was a creature long ago that demanded a yearly sacrifice of a fair maiden, but a hero stopped the creature and locked it away with the help of a deity, but some dingus has unleashed it by accident. Now, Amaterasu, the sun goddess in good boy form, has returned with her newly acquainted friend Issen and must assist the mere mortals who have allowed this land to be corrupted. Her first target? The revived Orochi. A slow but interesting story to introduce us to this grand adventure. I hope I don't make a stupid mistake like quitting to adjust the screen options before the first autosave. I couldn't believe how much of a wally I was the first time, but I was saved by the skip button. Thank goodness for the skip button. Unless you're a hardcore fan, I doubt you're going to be pleased repeating anything. I give this as a warning as I was so excited to play and almost had my excitement deflated by constant starting and stopping early in the game. It's one of those games like Pokemon Arceus where your hand is held so much early on it's off-putting. I normally play grand strategy games where you are given all the tools you need from the beginning and you need to work out how to use them, but here you have to unlock them, adding to the sluggish pace. Just a warning, not to put anyone off, as once the game gets going the pace is good and mechanics are introduced at a steady rate. This brings me neatly onto the gameplay of Okami. A large portion of time is spent exploring the ancient land, travelling from village to countryside to town to secret underground cave. I absolutely love this part as I was so eager to explore every nook and cranny of the land as each area opened up to me. Amaterasu encounters many eccentric characters, some of which will give side quests to complete. Past that, there are enemies in these creepy scrolls that fly across the land and chase you at night. Once touched, battle is initiated. The combat is basic, with most attacks relying on only a couple of button mashers. Our heroine fights enemies by headbutting, shooting off her Buddhist bead machine gun, and other methods to defeat enemies. From these battles and pots, Amaterasu will gain yen that can be spent on useful items, better weapons, or can be spent at the dojo to train and upgrade with this gem of a sensei. There are also demon fangs to buy equipable items and praise gained from good deeds for permanent stat boosts like health and ink pots. I guess I can't avoid it now. The best part of the gameplay, more than the mediocre combat and fun exploring, is the celestial brush mechanic, which after the art style is probably what stands out most to those hoping to try the game. With a click of a button and the flick of a mouse or joystick, a symbol is drawn unleashing one of Amaterasu's many abilities. When our favourite doggy is revived though, she has lost much of her power, and throughout the story she finds the zodiac animals and cat keeping her powers safe. By releasing each one from the constellations, she regains another ability which can be essential in exploring new areas and importantly help combat increasingly powerful and at times annoying enemies. It's fun experimenting with different brushstrokes to find different ways to beat enemies. The powers are given at a steady rate that keeps the gameplay fresh. The one problem I have is how this bloody scroll won't always read my brushstrokes correctly. Come on, I'm drawing a circle. Rejuvenate the bloody tree. And to be honest, even though I said the combat was kept fresh, I might be too positive about that. By the end, combat is very repetitive, especially if you decide to grind for demon fangs. Even my friend who raved about this game admitted he wished sometimes it was story only, without any combat. Actually, I could see that as a potential walking simulator spin-off game. We can probably expect that after we get a proper console sequel to Okami. With my hopes and dreams still crushed, what is left in the game are battle mechanics that are fine but nothing exciting. Yet, at no point did I feel like putting this game down, and part of this is, and I'll grudgingly give it to my mate, the art style. The version I played during lockdown was the Okami HD release for Windows. When I saw it round my friends, it was the original on PS2, and in both cases it was a treat on the eyes. The cel shaded landscape just encouraged me to explore, and although brighter in the HD release, the colours were always vibrant. Even better, the colours are used to help tell the story, with black and purple used to show the corrupted landscape Amaterasu must cleanse. Each time she succeeds, it is replaced by fresh green pastures, colourful flowers and bright streams. Except the swamp. I mean, it is a swamp after all. Not to mention how the colours of the elements are used to match counters to certain annoying enemy types. The reason the colours work and the style has held up from the PS2 until now is the use of two distinct art styles by the game, ukiyo-e and sumi-e. Ukiyo-e is a form of woodblock printing where layers are printed one by one and are used often to draw the natural and man-made landscapes of Okami, while sumi-e, also known as inkwash painting, is used for the more movement-intensive forms, from characters and the wind to my favourite circle maker. It's impressive how the developers managed to balance using the two styles and give a feel to the land that fits the mythology it portrays past the basic, "It's Japan, am I right?" Every character, enemy, landscape fits in, with the scrolls introducing new enemies and characters being one of the few striking images that contrast, yet still play a role in building the feel of the world. However, the one thing that kept me enthralled for 30 plus hours was not the gameplay or the art style, it was the stories and the characters. Spoiler warning! The story of Okami is a classic one of battle between good and evil, heavily influenced by the stories of Shintoism, the religion of Japan. By this I don't mean it is simply the dominant religion of Japan, but it is culturally Japanese, as the belief system and its stories, even if some have foreign origin, are integrated into Japanese culture. The main character Amaterasu is a real goddess in Shintoism, as is the monster Orochi. There are many more influences from traditional Shinto stories that I will leave the keen to spot. Entire plot points are inspired by stories from the religion, making this game Japanese-inspired art telling a Japanese-inspired tale. At the start, Amaterasu's focus is on defeating her revived foe. To do this, she begins by restoring the nearby village of Okami. Straight away, after freeing the village from the corruptive influence, you can interact with the villagers who reside, learning about them and doing tasks for them. You can fix the washing line of Mrs. Orange, steal some turnips, make friends with the local alcohol supplier, an important skill for real life too. You can even watch Mr. Orange's special dances. Although the main plot does give you opportunities to interact with the villagers, these smaller moments made me feel more invested in protecting the village and its residents. After searching for alcohol, Amaterasu and Issen are able to get the resident lazy swordsman Susano to move the boulder blocking the exit to the village and reach Shinshu Field. This begins the cycle of unlocking a new area, freeing it from corruption, battling enemies, finding a new celestial brushstroke, and repeat. As more and more of the world is unlocked, you become stronger and get a step closer to defeating Orochi. My descriptions of the dark tone of Agata Forest, the airy Kusa village, or the Sparrow Run Sasa Sanctuary do not do them justice. Experiencing the game is the best way to appreciate how these different landscapes and their smaller quests feel and play into the overarching main quest. For me, it was a great escape from the box of a room I was stuck in week after week. On a side note, the soundtrack is heavily influenced by traditional music, and its many tracks, around 200 in total, add to the feeling of the game. In fact, if you enjoyed the soundtrack so much, you can buy the tracks on Steam. I can't wait to play on repeat in-house presentation type A. But in truth, these tracks are brilliantly used in-game. Everything from obtaining an item to walking in a city has its own track. The focus on one genre might seem limiting, but there is a wide variety of distinct tracks. Two of my favourites are Cursed Shinshu Field and Hana Valley. But that's just my preference, as I enjoy sad, melancholic music. I'll add Ida's Race here so I don't make things too depressing. Returning to Okami and its story, it relies heavily and successfully on its characters. Imagine walking through a forest and then meeting a mysterious, cocky, French-sounding man named Waka and his sword named Pillow Talk. Absolutely bizarre and hilarious. Then you discover he's a recurring character with an interest in what you are doing and other issues you are yet unaware of. How about a pair of imps who won't let you enter the kitchen until you have a crudely drawn disguise to hide your true identity? The humour for me hits a lot of times, although the pervy comments of Issen quickly ran thin for me. Or take Princess Fuse, a priestess trying to protect her village with the help of the 8 canine protectors. Amaterasu helps her because it's the right thing to do, and then it's revealed the defeated boss was the one who killed her husband, the former priest and protector of Kusa village. Each time it saddened me to leave behind some of the characters I invested time in, but Amaterasu must advance for the greater good, preparing for the final battle, not to mention the many more characters that will be met along the journey. Finally, the festival arrives and it is time for Orochi to choose his victim. Our heroes return in time to see the maiden, my favourite alcohol supplier, chosen for sacrifice. I accompany her to the moon cave, and with the help of Amaterasu's powers and the lazy swordsman, we fight and defeat the evil beast. And now, the world is free of evil. The village is safe and Amaterasu can relax. Or not. As Orochi dies, he unleashes even greater evil spirits into the world. It's no time to rest, and I'm only about a third of the way through the game. It's time to cleanse the world from evil, and this is where I end my description of the story for you to discover for yourself, or to relive if you have already played. That was merely the first part of the story, and at the end of it, it does feel like a neatly tied end, and I was half expecting the final credits to roll. There are another 2 parts, and what I will say is it escalates. First, save the village. Second, save the kingdom. Finally, save the world. Part 1 for me is definitely the strongest of the 3, as I was most invested with the characters. Part 2 is also really good, ramping up the stakes and unlocking some interesting areas. Part 3 is good? Just good. It has unique areas and some interesting ideas, but is easily the weakest part. To go into it just a little more, the foes are influenced by Ainu beliefs, a culture found primarily on the island Hokkaido in northern Japan, although many of its people have been displaced. I also like the characters added in this part, but something is weaker. It might be that interactions with the residents are less compelling, or that it retreads some parts of the story, or maybe it makes the game a tad too long. While it's good, it can't touch what came before. When I finished this game, the UK was still stuck in lockdown and there was nowhere to go. You were allowed to go to buy food and 1 hour of exercise per day. Otherwise, you could only travel to work, assuming you weren't working from home. But I felt better than before. If asked by a friend, my gut reaction would be, I wish I played it earlier. But actually, I'm glad I played it when I did. I loved the world of Okami and the characters I encountered. It felt genuinely sad to see I was approaching the end of the game, and knowing I would have to say goodbye to them after playing for 30 plus hours. Yet, a game about the invasion of a world by a sudden threat, its corruption of good in the world, resistance, hope, sacrifice, and rejuvenation, for some reason, did comfort me. It isn't a game above criticism, but it's rare for me to be pulled in so completely by a non-strategy game, and I thank it for that. I'm also definitely not alone in my enjoyment of the game. It was well reviewed on release, yet suffered from poor sales, likely due to it being published at the end of the PS2 life cycle. However, it earned a loyal fan base, resulting in a sequel and later remasters that did sell well. Even today, there are regular posts on the Okami subreddit for fans expressing their adoration for the game and its sequel, sort of. I can see why many love this game, and I'm sure one day I'll get around to playing it again, or possibly its sequel. It will take time before I'm ready to revisit Okami, but I look forward to enjoying it all over again. Thank you to the great work Clover Studio did on this game, and to you for watching. If you have any thoughts on Okami, let me know. I'd be interested to hear what others think about the game. Goodbye for now.